The American Powerboat Association presents the OMC Cobra Series, brought to you by OMC and by Ford and Ford Power Products. It's August, and this is Miami Heat. One of the most popular means of escape is the Atlantic Ocean and the beaches surrounding it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Miami. I'm Don Poyer. It is hot down here, as I said a moment ago. The weather index, which takes the temperature, humidity, and the wind into consideration, is now at 116 degrees. But the racing here is going to be the best of the year. After a race season that started back in February, through races throughout the summer, regional finals, it finally comes down to here, the national championships. One of the classes in this show that we will be highlighting is the 2.5 stock. And right now, Steve Montgomery, who is joining us on this broadcast today, has a closer look at that class.
Last time we saw Andy Coker, he was in an unlimited hydroplane, 30 feet long, 7,000 pounds, 3,600 horsepower. Now the 2.5-liter class, Andy, a little smaller, but certainly no less exciting.
That's true. It's very, very lively. A lot of competition in the class. I don't know what to say other than the fact that it's a lot of fun.
What kind of shoot speeds are you going to show us here on a course this size?
Well, due to the wind condition and everything, I don't know if everybody can show everything they have, but we're capable of running right around 106, 107 miles an hour with this Ford motor we've been developing.
13 foot, 6 inches of hull, and the same 4-cylinder Ford I have in my Ford.
That's true. We've done a little bit of more development on it. We've been inside it, looked at everything that's in there. We're real happy. We find it's engineered well. Looks like it's almost bulletproof as far as staying together, and we've had no problems with it.
Andy Coker Don will be in both classes of 2.5s, and we'll see him in the 7-liters, too.
And Steve, the course that the 2.5 stocks, which is the OMC Cobra Series, and the other classes we'll be using, is the same used by the Unlimiteds. 1 2/3, main straightaway with the grandstands then out the back. And we'll return with the first of our OMC Cobra Series finals right after this. Will it be ladies first? Here's Ann Fitzgerald. Annie, what are you thinking about for this first run?
I'm getting my head tuned into a very good start. That's what we need here. Competition's very keen. A lot of us are running pretty good, and I think I need to get a really good start.
And I think the field knows they can't push you around.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And part of that keen competition is already headed out onto the course for the first Cobra Series Heat final. Jim Ruark, been racing for only 3 years, has made it to the Nationals. Andy Coker, the veteran, raced in many classes, will also be competing. For the 2.5-liter stocks, heat number 1 of 2 finals. We got an even dozen, 12 boats coming down the main straightaway for the start as the gray clouds behind the skyline of Miami form. And here we go. Looks like it'll be a clean start right where our ESPN sign is, where the starting line is. There's Bobby Brown and Sandy Tate as they go down the main straightaway and into the south turn on this 1 2/3 course. Steve, an incredible sight. Look at that.
Look at this. Huge field coming right at you, Don. That is an incredible shot. This is a driver's class. The boat's very evenly matched. And the first boat to turn left is Jimmy Ruark from Salisbury, Maryland.
He is an outstanding driver. We saw him in the Southland Regatta way back in April down in St. Petersburg, Florida. Outstanding driver. Good boat, and he has got the lead right now. And this is a case of really feeling it out. Second place, Alan Oslin. Third place, Bob Brown. And we will move on down the field as we can. That's Brown holding on to third place and trying to catch the man from Michigan, that being Alan Oslin. There's Jim Ruark.
This is the kind of racing you get in the Nationals. These are the best from all across America. 12 boats on the water and about 3 rooster tails, Don. They're in big bunches right now.
Well, that's really an accustomed to this particular form of racing. We've seen it all year, Steve, like in Steubenville, where the whole student body will duke it out while somebody gets out in front, and Ruark has done just that. Look at the cushion of air under these 2.5 stock engine and boats. Really an incredible case of really flying by the seat of your pants. All these drivers are doing that, like Alan Oslin out of Westland, Michigan, who is still in second place in lane number 2.
Those fans who haven't seen a lot of boat racing, Don, this is what it's all about. You have to be up off the water, but of course you don't want to be too high. And having a hull that handles the way Jim's is right here is one of the keys to success.
Jim is going right through the potholes, the worst part of the course here, going down the back straightaway into the turns 3 and 4, or the second overall turn. But you can see him still bouncing. He's about to complete lap number 2 on a 3-lap heat. 2 final heats, 3 laps, Steve. So it's going to be interesting. You don't have a whole lot of time to get your business done.
And a tremendous amount of traffic. He has the advantage of being out in front of most of it, but he is not far behind the back of the field, which means he won't have real smooth water.
And Bob Brown has now moved into second place with Alan Oslin falling back into third. That would mean 400 points for that gentleman if he finishes first. Jim Ruark, 300 then would go to Brown and 225 to Alan Oslin. Remember, points are critical because the overall winner by points is the national champion here in the national championships in Miami.
Now there's Alan Oslin, who is not accustomed to running anywhere in first place. He's trying to catch this man, Jimmy Ruark, and so far, well, there are 2 fast boats right there, and they can't catch that leader.
Let's see how they handle now, Steve, because they're about to go into the potholes right about in there. This is the same exact course that the Unlimiteds use, and that's where they run into trouble. Just going into turn number 3, the second turn overall on the left side of the course.
This, again, is the marvelous thing about the Nationals. The guys running first, second, and third right now usually win their regionals, Don. And this is a tremendous battle between 3 of America's best. There's the checkered flag.
And here comes Jim Ruark, 400 points for that man. In good shape for the second. Look out! He's all right. Second place, Bob Brown, and third finally to Alan Oslin. So in terms of points, Jim Ruark with a big advantage now going into the second heat, which we will have later in the day. As you see, Bob Brown second, Oslin right on down the field. Let's go to the pits with Steve Montgomery.
Jim, you walked away from that big field rather easily. Were you surprised it was that easy?
Well, when you get out in front in the clear water, that's a couple miles an hour right there in these small classes. So I made it through the first turn okay, and just try to take it along easy, waiting for the final heat. Got one more. If we can match it then we'll be there.
Again, a lot of people early and slowing down. Where were you in that mess?
Todd came around. I had my mark from the exit pin, so that gave me a 13-second mark through the start line, so I could stay right on it wide open. A couple of them had to let up, and I just shot between them.
Good luck next time.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Don.
And songwriter Christopher Cross has nothing on Jim Ruark. Talk about riding the wind. Look at this as he crosses the finish line. Oh, my goodness. Down to the pits again with second place Bob Brown. Well, what did you learn about Mr. Ruark there on that last race? He got first ahead of you.
He's fast. I've been chasing him all year long.
What's the idea now with the second place, second go-around coming up? What do you want to try to do? Just flat out win it?
Yes, sir. I really would. But I'd settle for second.
Point-wise, maybe that'll be enough if Jim's behind you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And look who's directing traffic down in the pits. Veteran driver, boat builder, Tom DeEath out of Fairhaven, Michigan. Modified. Steve Montgomery.
Designer, builder, boat racer Larry Louderback in a boat that his family designed and built, obviously, and I'm sure you'll tell us you're getting a nice, smooth ride here in Marine Stadium.
Oh, the Gemini is running real good. The boat's working real well. We just won our qualifying heat, and everything looks good.
The 2.5-liter modified. One way to get here would be to take that same 4-cylinder Ford we talked about and modify it, but there are other ways to get into the modified division.
Yes, there is. You have an option of engines in this class. You can either go with the, I run the little 6-cylinder Nissan motor. They have the Pontiac Fiero. Go with the Ford engine is a great engine. You have the BMWs. You have all kinds of choices you can choose from.
You have a boat here that's famous for chute speed. What kind of speeds are you seeing in the straightaways?
I run about 122, 124 miles an hour here today.
How many horsepower? How long is the boat?
The boat's 18 feet long and weighs about 1,000 pounds. We're making about 275, 280 horsepower. We're down on power compared to the bigger, more powerful 4-cylinder engine, but we're keeping it in the hunt.
And you sit behind the motor?
Sit behind the engine. Slow learner, I guess you could say. I don't know. I'm driving a cab over tomorrow for Greg Kramer in the 7-liter class, but, you know, I've always said, I don't know what difference it makes where you sit. The boat's a 3-point hydroplane. It's got a gas pedal, a seat, and a steering wheel. Doesn't matter where you sit.
For the time being, Don, Larry's perfectly happy behind the motor. Thank you.
One of the men he'll have to go against, Doug Felser, defending national champion, as he heads out for the first heat. Before he left, we had a chance to talk with him about the field. Let's talk with the defending national champion in the 2.5 mods. You've got some real tough company out there, Doug. What do you think?
Well, it's real tough. Glenn Coultney with Mr. Mashburn's boat's real fast. John DeVos is super awesome.
Well, you got Larry Lauterbach, too. You know, he is.
Lauterbach, yeah. And we got a couple of the other Pontiacs there, Chris Oliver and Larry's brother out there. And we've got our Pontiac, of course, which has been running real good for us.
Is the key, like any other boat racing, with these guys especially, grab that inside right away?
Well, not necessarily. It's you can do a boat on anything in a modified class because you've got a lot of power. And a lot of times you can run on the outside better than you can on the stock boats where it is definitely got to have the inside.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
The defending national high points champion, Chris Oliver, is one of the drivers that Doug Felster will have to look out for. Likewise for Doug Massengale, outstanding driver. Some of the people to watch in their first heat. We had 12 boats in the 2.5 stock, this being the 2.5 modified, a little more horsepower, a couple of more pistons, 10-boat field, and a lot of great drivers, Steve Montgomery.
A lot of great drivers trying to make the starting line on time. I think they're going to be early, Don. It looks to me like the leaders, at least, are going to get here too soon.
Right where the flag was, that's the starting line, and I think all these drivers may be a little edgy, not wanting to give up any kind of advantage. That's Jim Sellers now going down the straightaway. He's a Florida driver, and here they come down past the crowd and Marine Stadium grandstands into the south turn. On the inside, outstanding driver in Doug Massengale with a great boat.
He was one of the boats I thought might have been over, though. Here you have all the best drivers from all across America, Don. A lot of them don't know each other that well, and they're not used to putting a guy on the left or the right and knowing where he is. And I think a bunch of them got each other snookered here. We won't know for a lap or two, but the leader appears to be Massengale right there, and he has a healthy advantage right now.
Great acceleration on his part. Yes, we should keep in mind a lot of reputations at stake right here. A lot of people know each other only by reputation, or they go once a year. Again, into the potholes, into that third turn, 3 and 4. Massengale, boy, he's got his foot down. Look at this thing going around the turn. Outstanding driver. We've seen him race throughout the summer, and he is right now got a healthy lead. But again, we could have as many as 3, 4, maybe even 5 boats DQ'd. We'll simply have to wait and see. It's not like the Unlimited, Steve, where they are penalized a lap. Here, you jump the gun, you're DQ'd. That's simple. Here's Larry Lauterbach in the 711 Gemini.
Lauterbach yesterday, Larry Lauterbach was unbeatable in the qualifying races, and here he is back in the rooster tail.
Here's Doug Felster. He's gone back to the pits. Let's get a word from him now. Doug, what happened?
Well, I jumped the gun, I know for sure, but the motor went sour, it just wouldn't run. So instead of doing more damage, I decided to come in. I'm running last anyways. And I jumped. A whole bunch jumped.
Really?
Yeah, a whole bunch of guys.
Well, that confirms it for us then. Felster, the defending champion, going back into the pit suddenly, but like he said, a whole bunch of people jumped the gun. In fact, now we have been given word that Jim Sellers, will find him on the course, is now the leader, Steve.
Jimmy Sellers crossed the line just behind the front leaders, the pack, and he apparently was the only guy on time. So about 5 boats here have been disqualified.
The boats you see right there, all DQ, that being Larry Lauterbach. So Jim Sellers in high up keeps the name of the boat on the inside, right of your screen. That's the leader now. And boy, does this ever shake up things as far as the national championship, because all the hot boats, or certainly a lot of them, are out in front. They're going to get no points. And that's going to have a major influence on who wins the national championship. So Sellers in a driver's seat. Here comes Massengale completing lap number 2.
Now, the interesting thing, Don, is that these guys are veterans, and I'm sure they have suspicions. And Doug and that guy right there, Larry Lauterbach, has made 1 million starts in his life. He probably knows that he was early.
I would imagine they're all saying, well, I wonder how many of us will get away with it, huh, Steve?
Might as well go for it. You came here to boat race, and you can't slow down and make it up now. You might as well go.
But again, it goes back to that same old thing. You cannot, because you know these people by reputation, how good they are, you can't give them any kind of advantage, even if it means possibly jumping the gun, like John DeVos in the blue boat. He set a world record in the Southland Regatta this year in April. He also jumped the gun, so he's disqualified. So a lot of points are going to boats that are back in the pack here in the first heat of the 2.5 mod.
Massengale would definitely be the guy in the catbird seat, but he probably knows he's in trouble. Now, here's the checkered flag, but it does not drop for Massengale.
Massengale knows it. No points for Doug Massengale. Let's get an official word from the pits.
Okay, we have the 12, 36, 41, 76, 77, and the 711 gun jump on the 2.5-liter modified first final.
So, the benefactors, Jim Sellers, Chris Chris Oliver, Glenn Coatney, and Doug Brogdon, all very fine drivers, but they were back in the pack. They get all the points, however. Oh, that'll change things now. Down to the pits.
I know I was over. I made a mistake, just messed up, that's all. These guys come around early and then they box you all in. You got to come up with them or get blocked in. Well, on the back, you grouped up.
Took a while to get the word, but you won. Were you surprised to get the news?
Well, I knew everybody's going to be a little early on the gun, so I just hit it on the roll, took it from there.
Where were you in that mess, Jim?
I was inside about lane 2, and I could see most of them, probably 10 of the other boats, were going to be too early and have to slow down at the start in order not to jump. And I just hit it wide open and ran away with it.
You're halfway to the national championship, but you got some real hot dogs with no points, so they'll be coming after you. That'll be quite a race.
No, I wouldn't say halfway there. We got a long way to go. These boys are fast, and luck is what gave it to me there. We're really not as fast as most of them, but hopefully we'll get a good start and do the best we can.
Well, congratulations so far.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Don?
Steve, I'm with Chris Oliver. Chris, you got second place officially now. You were, of course, the national high points champ last year, but you got a good shot of winning it all now this year, too.
I certainly hope so. We got wet in the first lap there, but it cleared out. It was running pretty good, and I think if I hang in there, I got a shot at winning it.
Well, you had a lot of people in front of you. What were you thinking? Like, were they all going?
Well, I knew they all jumped the gun. When I went across the start line, the clock had just gone out, and these people had passed me, and I knew it. I said, I looked at the clock, and I did this in Toledo, and I said, let's not do this twice.
Men your Hobie Cats, folks. What a way to spend a Sunday afternoon in Miami. Throughout the entire 1987 racing season, we want to give you a glimpse of the OMC Cobra Grand Prix class, the brand new class. This is Mike Jones, by the way, president of the American Powerboat Association, a new entry level. You want to get into boat racing? This is the way to do it. For a very conservative $5,000, come up with a boat, the engine, the trailer, you name it. They're putting on another exhibition here in Miami's Marine Stadium. A new way to get into boat racing.
Don, we are sitting on Ken Muscatel's 6-liter boat, one of the faster classes here, a relatively new name for a class that's been around a while. Ken, tell us about the length, the horsepower, and the chute speed.
We have a chute speed of about 130 to 135 in most race courses. The boat is my boat's one of the smaller 6-liters. It runs about 18 feet 6 inches long. It's a small boat, 1,500-pound boat. The record speed for a closed course, 113 mile an hour, though we think this boat maybe has a chance to break the record. And the horsepower, even with its 360 Chevy, naturally aspirated, runs with pump gas, makes about 450 to 475 horsepower.
We're back in Miami on this hot Sunday afternoon, and I'm with a gentleman who I first got to know as a basketball player, and a lot of people did, of course, from North Carolina State, then on to the NBA, Tom Burleson, who is now a 6-liter driver. Tom, why are you doing it? I mean, do you just need more kicks once you get out of professional basketball? Something to get excited about?
I believe so. That's the main reason I'm in it. The small block that we run is a lot of fun to work with. A lot of the guys up at home run them in dirt cars and NASCAR, Harry Gant's my favorite driver and everything, so we run the same type of motor. And it's just a good competitive outlet. You know, it's good, strong, healthy fun.
Well, I know you played up in Seattle with the Sonics in the NBA. Is that where you got introduced to hydroplane?
That was for sure, because I used to go Grand Marshal out at Anderson Point there at Lake Sammamish. I was the Grand Marshal a couple races out there, and guys took me out in their flat bottoms and exposed me to the 100-mile-an-hour plus waters out there, and so I sort of got hooked on it.
That got the juices flowing, huh?
Correct, yes.
Well, is this going to be it? Do you want to stay at 6-liter, or is the sky the limit?
Well, I like the 6-liter. You know, I'm trying to talk a sponsor in right now to run in a 6, 7, and an unlimited. I'd like to be the one to run the 6-liter, and then I'd like to get Glenn Coatney to run the 7-liter, and then I'd like to have Chuck Woodruff run the unlimited. So we're talking to a real big sponsor who's thinking about it right now.
That would be quite a threesome, to say the least, but good luck here today in Miami.
Well, thank you very much. We keep finishing, and we'll be all right.
This is the smallest field we have. This is the 6-liter, only 4 boats. Geographically, simply tough to get all the boats down here, Steve Montgomery. But here we go. We got real talent, to say the least. And here we go with Grayson Jones and Ken Muscatel right on the button at the start of the heat as they go into the south turn.
This is what the Nationals are all about. The best in the West is Ken Muscatel. His white boat is on the right, just out of your picture. That's Grayson Jones from Maryland, 3,000 miles apart. And here they get together in Miami, and look at him hook it up in that first turn. That's Muscatel on the inside, having some handling problems, and Jones running very smoothly on the outside.
A little more horsepower than the other boats we have seen so far, but a good matchup. Tommy Burleson on the outside in the battle for 3rd and 4th. We'll talk with Tommy. Yes, that's the former NBA basketball player and North Carolina State star back in the national championship era, but Grayson Jones right now in first place, but he knows that Ken Muscatel is so potent. He also has the controllable wing, the canard wing, you might say, in the front. But right now, Grayson Jones in power seems to be working best.
And the difference right now, Don, is the ride of the two boats. You look at Grayson Jones and his boat giving him a nice straight line down the straightaway and through the turns. Muscatel is fighting it just a little bit more.
In 4th place, by the way, Mark Butler out of Fort Myers, Florida, in the boat called Who Dat. But in first place, Grayson Jones in the boat entitled Heartbreaker, and then Kenny Muscatel out of Bellevue, Washington. That's Butler. This boat dead in the water right now. Who Dat? And again, back to Grayson Jones. A lot more horsepower, and then through the holes going into turns 3 and 4, you can see the bigger boats, they get through it a little bit quicker.
Grayson's boat is a little bit longer than Muscatel's, and that may be part of the difference in the ride right here. These are pretty good racing conditions, but Grayson definitely getting the best of it. There's a good look at Muscatel, all the way down from Seattle, Washington.
There's Tommy Burleson. Look at those arms stick out over. He's got to kind of dip between his knees, his chin almost riding on his knees, as a matter of fact.
You know, a lot of the drivers start in smaller boats and work their way up to this class. Tommy couldn't. He didn't fit in a smaller boat.
I know someday he'd love to drive an Unlimited. He could certainly fit that very well. But he likes the 6-liter class, and he likes to keep the old juices flowing in terms of competition, and that's why he's a boat racer now and no longer a basketball player. Blew a knee out. But Grayson Jones in first place here in the 6-liter, and the checkered flag is waiting for him. 400 points for Grayson Jones out of Cambridge, Maryland. Second place will go to Ken Muscatel out of the Seattle area, and 300 points. Day not over yet for these two. And finally, 3rd place, Tom Burleson out of the state of North Carolina, 225. So those three will see each other one more time. Mark Butler unable to finish as we saw him out on the course. Let's go down to the pits and see what Grayson Jones thinks about his first go-around.
Grayson Jones, you ended up on the outside, but it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, Ken took the inside on us, but we were comfortable with the first or second lane, because this is a tight course. Even though it's a mile and 2/3, it's still tight, and we were satisfied for the second or first lane.
Now, after a couple of laps, when we thought you might move over, you didn't. You must have liked it out there.
Yeah, it was good. It's better to run the bark and the boat in an arc, where the boat runs better and faster rather than hugging the pins real tight.
You appeared to have him covered on speed. You think you can do it again?
I feel confident if we stay together.
You're halfway to the national championship.
Right. Thank you.
Good job.
All right.
Ever wonder where old sportscasters and drivers end up? You got it, the Monkey Jungle. This is a tourist attraction near the Everglades near Miami, where the monkeys run free and the tourists are in cages. We'll be back.
Why do you invest?
The aspects of boat racing is the element of danger, the possibilities of injury to a driver or damage to a boat. And the K-boats have had their share this weekend. For example, the start of the first final this weekend in Miami for the national championships. Two boats collide, and watch what happens. Believe it or not, the driver was fine, but the boat, that was another story. Later, one of the drivers operating the trim on the back of his boat pushed the nose forward. The following is what happens when you do that. That's JJ, one of the featured stars at Seaquarium here in Miami, along with the one and only Flipper. Great show put on for tourists all the time throughout the year. Can you do that? Thanks, JJ. We'll be back. More humid, and we may have a thunderstorm coming in, but in the meantime, we got a chance to talk with a man who really makes it happen here in Miami, Vic Cahill, who's the director of Miami Marine Stadium, correct?
Yep.
How long you been down here?
About 9 years.
You have a certain magic touch of making things happen down here. I know you've helped our crew and the boats immensely in the past. You've got big plans down here. You've had world boxing title fights here lately. Phil Donahue was down here. Oprah's coming down. How do you make it happen?
Well, we have a unique facility that we can have boat races, airplane races, fights, water shows.
What's the ultimate now? Vic, I know you've thought ahead. What would you like to do that would be the pièce de résistance?
Well, I would like to have no more than 2 shows a week because...
Well, it's fabulous, and I know it's so unique having the water here and everything else.
Well, we had Jimmy Buffett. He's coming back. And we had a show sold out for 2 nights with 1,000 yachts attending.
It's fabulous.
Well, the background is something else. But I'd like people to know what a beautiful facility this is. And when other people are freezing to death up north, we can run shows all year round here.
Yeah. Well, I know you're busy. I just wanted to grab you quick before the storm hits. Good to talk to you, Vic.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you people.
The second go-around of the 2.5 modifieds is next. Keep in mind, half the field, including Doug Massengale, jumped the gun first race. Doug? All right.
How you doing?
Now, what do you think as far as this second final heat? Do you have a shot at winning overall?
Not of winning overall unless the 4 guys that finished the first heat really do something really terrible like we did the first heat.
Well, at least you can go out and put on a good show.
We'll put on a show and get some respect back at least.
2 featured drivers in this second go-around. Glenn Coatney out of Fort Myers, Florida, driving for Mike Weiner of Cincinnati, and John DeVos, world record holder, out of Detroit. This will be a good race. In the second go-around for the 2.5 modified, keep in mind Chris Oliver in the A1 boat, also Jim Sellers, and also Glenn Coatney. Those are 3 people that have points, that are good drivers, that are coming in here after so many people were disqualified. Nobody jumps the gun this time, though. Steve Montgomery's, they take off. Doug Felster with a good start, the man who broke down in the first heat. He has first place going into the south turn. Look how calm it is now with the ensuing storm coming in.
Leading a field like this into the first turn is a tremendous accomplishment, and Doug Felster did it. None of those leaders you mentioned are anywhere near the front right now, Don.
But coming up on the inside, Felster's on the outside in lane number 2 and taking over the lead. Looks like Chris Oliver, the defending High Points champion of 1986. Back on the right of your screen, that was Doug Brogdon, and that is Glenn Coatney in the Mr. Bud behind the rooster tail of one of the leaders. Here you see the battle as they come in. Oh, this is wonderful racing, Steve. Look at this, 4 boats.
Look at that shot. Boat after boat after boat coming around the turn, looking for a lane, Don. You can't just go where you want. You have to find some open water to come down the front straightaway.
Coming down, Chris Oliver in every penny. We've watched him race throughout the year. Second place, Doug Brogdon in lane number 1. Got a lot of company, though, as they come down. That's on the outside, John DeVos getting into the act, as well as Coatney in the Mr. Bud, the cream-colored boat. Here is Chris Oliver, the defending national points leader in the A1. Every penny.
We had a 4-way tie for third as they came by the start-finish line. This is very close racing.
Keep in mind, they're halfway. They have got a lap and a half on this 3-lap second final. Chris Oliver's going dead in the water. Here comes DeVos on the way outside, and he will do that quite often. He's a world record holder. Set the record in St. Petersburg back in April. And you see Chris Oliver, oh my, done for the day. The driver out of Annapolis, Maryland, is finished for 1986. Glenn Coatney now will do battle with the man in the black boat. That is Doug Brogdon. Check that. That's John DeVos in the blue boat coming down. Here comes Brogdon in split second, the 8:15.
Coatney took advantage of that little slip up there in the top of the course and moved to the inside, Don. That's the boat to watch. Glenn's a good driver.
Now DeVos has the lead, but he has no points. Remember, Glenn Coatney in second place to the right of your screen already has points, 225, and so does Brogdon. But the man right now on the bubble, you might say, is Glenn Coatney. He has enough. If he gets a first place here, he can win the national title.
DeVos goes wide, finds some rough water. Here comes Coatney. He may win it and make it an easy call, Don. Looks like he's going to do a beautiful job of taking lane 1.
Mike Whiter, the owner of that boat out of Cincinnati. Glenn Coatney out of Fort Myers, Florida, gets a little air under it, but he'll get 400 points in the national title to Glenn Coatney out of Fort Myers. Second place, John DeVos. And third place, Doug Brogdon in split second. Best race of the day, and as you see, Glenn Coatney, and our hats off to him as the national champion for the Mr. Bud in the 2.5 modified class. Let's go down to the celebration in the pits.
Try to do it again, okay?
Look at this. Coatney doesn't even have time to celebrate. He's going out in a 5-liter now to compete in a class that you will see in our second broadcast from Miami. Glenn Coatney, though, wins the 2.5 mod national championship, and we'll have more from Miami right after.
And in New Baltimore on 23 Mile, just west of
Back to Miami. I'm Don Poyer with Steve Montgomery for the national championships down in this beautiful, beautiful Florida city. You know, it's amazing how quickly our crew signs up for our trips down here. I guess you can see why. Ken Muscatel, one of the 6-liter drivers, is from Seattle, where a lot of unlimited hydroplane camps are based. And he has adopted a lot of the ideas they have in cockpits, especially the belt. You're strapped in, Ken.
Yes, I am. I'm in a reinforced cockpit, and we have the 6-point belt restraint system, the same system that the Unlimited use, and it's really for extra safety and security, as well as just being able to stay in the boat and not have to hold on to the wheel.
Also, you've got a wheel, much like the Unlimiteds, that you can take off in the event we got to get you out of here.
Yeah, it's a single release wheel, and on the wheel we have our switch to control the adjustable wing on the front of the boat.
How effective is it? I would imagine the response is incredible with a smaller boat like this.
It's enormously effective because we can bring the wing down in the corners to put air into the boat and keep the boat accelerating, and then as we get about half track, I bring the wing up, and then if the boat gets a little loose, I can bring the wing tail all the way up, and it brings the nose down, so it's fantastic.
Has it been a huge advantage over the competition this year?
Yes, because this boat, it enables this boat to run in rough water better. And this is a small boat, and to be able to do that is terrific.
Mark Butler's boat, who that is history. Likewise with Tommy Burleson driving the Lennox Pulse. So we have 2 boats, that being Grayson Jones on the outside, and this man, Ken Muscatel from Seattle, Washington. And the start is good. Here they go into the first turn.
Only 2 boats done, but they are 2 of America's best, and Kenny Muscatel did just what he needed to do. He wired the start. He has Grayson Jones on the outside, and you see right there that Ken, so far, has maintained the advantage, but there comes Grayson Jones, that smooth-riding boat on the outside.
And Grayson told us earlier he doesn't really have to be on the inside. He knows that he can defeat Ken Muscatel. He did so in the earlier heat, staying on the outside. You saw how light Ken Muscatel got in there going into that first turn. Now, look, he's getting the sponsons way up in the air. That was the problem in the first heat.
Has to be frustrating for Kenny Muscatel because he's doing everything right, and the difference in this boat race, Grayson Jones is a great driver, and if you give him a little advantage in equipment, he is going to walk away from you. That appears to be what's happening again, Don. Nothing that Muscatel can do.
That's the end of the first lap as they come down the main straightaway now for lap number 2 of 3 for the national championship. West Coast against the East Coast. A Cambridge, Maryland driver in Grayson Jones, a Seattle, Washington driver in Ken Muscatel. A man who's done a lot for safety, has the strapped-in mechanism, the 5-way belt system keeping him in the cockpit, reinforced walls around him. There he is, very well protected in this particular 6-liter boat. But there's the lead for Grayson Jones, Steve.
The 6-liter class used to be called 5 liters. It's a fuel-injected hot rod. It's a more complicated power plant to work with. And, Don, that's the reason there aren't so many of them around anymore. It's a lot easier to run in one of the stock classes.
A lot of the drivers talked about geographically. It's so tough to get down here to race for a national championship down to Miami. It's a long ways from everywhere, kind of like Seattle is when they try to go up there. You saw the green flag, meaning one more lap for both boats as Ken Muscatel hanging on. And he is back still a bit behind Grayson Jones, this man out of Maryland, who is looking for that championship, and he is about 3/4 of a lap away.
Ken Muscatel has been nearly unbeatable in the Northwest and out on the West Coast, but Grayson Jones' boat, we talked about earlier, a little bit longer, a little more stable, and handling has been the difference here, and Grayson's on his way to the national championship. Nothing that Ken Muscatel can do about it.
Muscatel, very good friends with Chip Hanauer of the Unlimited Hydroplane fame, also a great limited driver, now drives the Miller American Unlimited. But in the meantime, it is Grayson Jones out in front And here comes Kenny Muscatel. Will come down the straightaway for the final time here in Miami Marine Stadium. The checkered flag, your national champion, Grayson Jones out of Cambridge, Maryland. Second place, Ken Muscatel, Seattle. We started with 4 boats and we ended with 2. Tom Burleson and Mark Butler unable to go out for the second running, but a great show by both Jones and Muscatel. Let's go down to the pits.
Not the way you wanted to come back, but you're the 6-liter national champion. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was, we picked up something in the water, and the water temperature went berserk, and we ran about, out of numbers, so that's why I cut it off.
The race obviously went about the way you wanted it to.
Good. We picked our second lane again and let Ken have the first lane, and we feel we run better that way outside, so.
I think you have your hull to thank. You just had a better ride than he did.
Yeah, it's a good haul with Ed Carlson's new design and the engine builder, Bob Grasso. Big thanks to him, and it's just a good combination.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
In case you're wondering, Grayson was towed in from the race course after having those engine problems and winning the national championship. We have one more national title to be determined today, the 2.5 stock, the OMC Cobra. And I'd like to know how many times this guy hits the ball towards the girls on the beach.
Charlie Brown. Not
Smith, a 5-liter boat driven by Bo Scheid out of Dayton, Ohio. It is one of the classes that'll be featured in our second 1-hour special on the national championships here in Miami. Let's get a word from Alan Oslin in the Cobra Series. Alan, after a third-place finish, what are you thinking now as far as this last run?
Well, I want to get out there and get my timing runs down so I can nail that start. I got to win this race, get the total 400 points.
You got the horsepower to do it?
I think we do. We made a couple changes. Running the third. I don't want to run the third. I want to run number 1.
Go get him.
Thank you.
Alan Oslin, one of the drivers to beat. So is Ann Fitzgerald in the S90 boat. Her husband, John Fitzgerald, the crew leader. Also Jim Ruark. So the OMC Cobra National Championship comes down to a final 3 laps here in Miami. The big advantage goes to Jim Ruark with 400 points in the first heat. And here they come. 12 boats. By the way, Tom Yeager has scratched the defending national champion. Here they come, Steve. Sandy Tate right in the middle. Looks great.
Again, Sandy, the one lady driver in the field, wires the start, but she's not going to lead it into the first turn. Too much horsepower on the outside, Don.
Jim Ruark already establishing the lead going into the first turn. Andy Coker with a big air scoop behind him, and on the outside, Eddie Sharp Jr. coming around, holding a position as we see them line up going down the back chute for the first time.
Little surprising the way Jimmy Ruark has easily dominated and handled this field. There is a lot of competition, a lot of horsepower behind him.
Bob Brown in second place. Andy Coker is in third place. Fourth place, Alan Oslin. Good battle for third place right now, as you got at least 3 boats back there duking it out. In the meantime, Jim Ruark, only in his 3rd year of racing, is going for his national championship, and Bob Brown on the inside hip is giving chase to Big Jim.
One of the things we've talked about before, Don, is attitude of the boat. You see Ruark's boat, he's staying right on the water, keeping a good attitude. When you get a look at Alan Oslin, who is normally very fast, his hull is flying a little bit this weekend, and that's the reason he's not up there further.
Andy Coker, you see the big air scoop behind him, almost like you say, makes the boat look short because it's so high, but he's performing well in this, the final heat. This boat behaved very well, Jim Ruark, down in the Southland Regatta in April, and that's the thing we've noticed about it all year, is how well it rides. Eddie Sharp and Coker going after it right now.
Nobody drives harder than Robert Brown, that man right there. If there's a way to catch Jimmy Ruark, he will figure it out, and he'll get everything out of that boat it's got.
Bob Brown with 300 points in the earlier heat. Here's the battle for third place. Coker in the middle. Inside is Oslin. On the outside, Eddie Sharp Jr. His father drives as well, Ed Sharp Sr. in the 5 liters. And right now, you've got a good battle as Brown's trying to move up on Ruark. And then the 3-boat shot. Look at that, Steve.
You know what I like is Jimmy Ruark has an overlap. He can take Brown right out of it by moving to the inside, but he's staying out there in lane 3 and giving Bob room to race. There he comes by you right now, finishing lap 2.
A 5-boat length lead is necessary before you can shut the door on anybody, that meaning moving into his lane. And still, you can see the 3 boats trying to battle for third place. Andy Coker currently in third place behind Ruark, who is out of Maryland, coming into the first place position now. And in second place, Bob Brown.
James Ruark only in his 3rd year as a boat racer, Don. He is 3/4 of a lap away from the national championship. What a tremendous accomplishment, and you can bet that'll be one excited family.
And family's a good way of putting it. I think he may be a proud papa. As a matter of fact, could be seconds away. We don't know. But here's Alan Oslin taking over third place as Jim Ruark now has less than a quarter of a lap to go for the OMC Cobra National Championship. In second place, still Bob Brown. Those two have duked it out all afternoon. But the driver out of Salisbury, Maryland, is going to get the 400 points here. A perfect day, a perfect weekend, a perfect year as Jim Ruark picks up the OMC Cobra National Championship. Second place, Bob Brown. And third place, out of the state of Michigan, Alan Oslin. So the numbers went like this. Coming in first place, Jim Ruark with a perfect 800-point day, and then Bob Brown and Alan Oslin out of Westland, Michigan. Down to the pits and the Ruark camp.
Take that champion.
That was great.
Wasn't one of my better dives.
Jim, just try to tell us how it feels, your first national championship, besides wet.
Well, I'll tell you the truth, it couldn't be any better. Everybody back home in Maryland just helped me so much. George Cusick, Brian Kaiser, everybody, they've just helped me so much. We've had so much trouble and couldn't ask for a better weekend. Everything.
Only in the sport 3 years. Could you imagine 3 years ago being here today?
No, I guess not, but my dad built the boat, and I consider him a pretty smart guy, so everything seemed to work out pretty good.
You're happy?
Yep, real happy. My wife's back home having the first baby. Couldn't ask for a better thing. Got a victory and a baby on the way.
Congratulations, Jim. What a city. You can either go watch some of the fastest boats in America or chill out on Miami Beach. We'll wrap things up in just a minute. '87 Inboard National Championship for Marine Stadium here in Miami. Steve, what'd you think? A lot of fun?
We have some very excited brand new national champions, some very worthy repeaters. I enjoyed it thoroughly, Don. Enjoyed working with you.
And it is plenty hot, and we were ready to take a shower.
Definitely.
Okay. And we want to say hats off to all of our national champions, as Steve said. And here is a look at all of our winners today. Air transportation for the 1987 National Championships were provided by Eastern Airlines. Racing fuel is provided by Turbo Blue. Shoes and sports apparel provided by Diadora USA. Ford is the official tow vehicle of the American Powerboat Association. The OMC Cobra Series was brought to you by OMC and by Ford and Ford Power Products.